I'm going to be showing you guys how you can still build Alphamon and still make it a super strong deck, even with the limitation of DoruGreymon. Digimon fans, welcome back. Today we'll be revisiting one of my favorite decks to play of all time, the Alphamon deck. You guys know that I like Alphamon, one of my favorite Digimons, and I know you guys love Alphamon as well. It is unfortunate that DoruGreymon was hit by the restriction list, and now we can only have one copy of it in our deck. It is a really strong and powerful card for it too. Many players now think that the deck is no longer viable, can't be played, but I'm going to prove to you guys that the deck is still holding strong as I play tested a bunch recently. Although we lost quite a bit of power and punch with the OTK, it can still consistently pull off combos and has many of the best searching capabilities for very great consistency. Like always, I got new updated combos to show you guys and teach you how to play the deck, so definitely stick around. So let's begin by showing you guys the deck profile. Okay, Digi-Egg cards, still the same. 4 copies of DoruGreymon, great for draw power whenever you add something underneath the sources. Just really great, and yeah, that's really all we need. There's no replacement of any better egg for that. So for rookies, 4 copies of Dorumon and 4 copies of Grademon. Both these guys are your searchers. Both these searchers have on play, revealing the top 3 cards of your deck, adding 1 card with X Antibody in its traits, and Dorumon gives you Coda, which is your memory tamer, and then for Grademon, it searches for your UG, which is also really great for adding additional memory and resources. Dorumon's inheritable is slightly better because you get to gain 1 memory whenever you slide something underneath the sources, whereas Grademon gives you decoy. It doesn't come up way too often, but it's also really nice to have, but you definitely want to maximize 4 copies on both of these because search power and consistency is really important for the deck. Just wanted to make a quick announcement with a bit of exciting news. Do you guys know that the upcoming BT13 is going to be based on Royal Knights? That means we potentially can be getting even more Alphamon support. Although the set might be a while away for us in English, but I'm ready and super excited to find out what cards we're going to get for that. So if you guys are excited as well and you want to see more Alphamon deck profiles and content on the channel, then definitely be sure to subscribe, turn on that notification bell right now to stay tuned. Also, definitely give this video a like because it just greatly helps and I really appreciate the support. Thank you all so much, but let's get back into the deck profile. Then we have 2 copies of the Dorumon from BT9. This one basically is also on play by trashing 1 card from your hand that has X Antibody in its traits. You get to draw 2 cards. Also pretty good for like digging deeper into your resources and finding your combo pieces. Just a really good card in general. Now the new addition for more rookies, which I really like, is 4 copies of Saruman. Right here, this guy is essentially like a replacement of the inheritable for your DoruGreymon, which we're jumping a little bit ahead and talking about it already. Your turn, while this Digimon is black and it has 13,000 DP or more, it gains security +1. Very easy for us to meet this condition in this deck, and making our Ouryuken getting that extra security +1, just like how it used to have with the DoruGreymon anyways. This is how we sort of compensate for the extra damage for potentially doing more strong power plays into security. Also, it has a very great generic effect for your turn. All of your black Digimon with 13,000 DP or more gain piercing as well. Now with the addition of Ouryuken, the Alphamon deck actually has increased its rookie counts, which actually provides a lot more consistency. I actually like it a lot more than before too, and I think it works out very nicely overall. So that's it for level 3s. Let's talk about our level 4s. 4 copies of DoruGreymon right here. Blocker, really good, as long as there is another X Antibody trait Digimon on the board, or it has a Digimon underneath its sources that has X Antibody in its traits. And then for its inheritable, extra 1000 is always really good, and it's all turns as well. Of course, with that being said, we have like the Dex version of it, where we have Dex DoruGreymon Digivolving for 0, and then you get to trash 1 card from your hand, which is X Antibody in its traits to gain 1 memory back, which is very nice. And then also giving you a blocker retaliation until the end of your opponent's next turn. Still very basic core combo with the level 4s, and that's all we play in this deck. So now let's talk about our level 5s. Unfortunately, we only have 1 copy of DoruGreymon now. It is restricted down to 1. This card is just really strong, really insane, because it lets you add more sources when you're digivolving, giving you the full-on protection, but with its inheritable, giving the security +1 is really where the OTK and the damage of Alphamon really comes in. But like I said, and like what we talked about earlier, Ouryuken is the brand new supplement for this instead, and we do have to find new replacements for level 5 for sure to help this deck out, and the best candidate would be the 4 copies of Grademon. Grademon is actually really good itself too. Slightly underrated in my opinion. Not as great as DoruGreymon, but still a really good card and perfect for this deck because it is X-Antibody support. When digivolving, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to add 1 card with Alphamon in its name among them to your hand, and then place 1 card with X-Antibody and its traits among them underneath this Digimon as its bottom sources, and then you trash the rest, which is really good for setting up for more combo plays, really great for searching, finding the pieces, and this is a really good level 5 searcher. And it also has a inheritable of an attack. If this Digimon has Alphamon in its name, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5 play costs or less. Can come in handy, really great for shutting off like small blockers or any type of like rookie memory blockers. You know, those kind of floodgates type of stuff is really neat. And yeah, Grademon definitely maximize at 4. Increases the consistency a bit more for this deck too, basically. That's it for level 5s. We'll talk about level 6 lineup. Really, nothing has changed for the top end lineup, really. You always want to have the 3 copies of this Alphamon. This one is just really good because when digivolving, you get to add sources from your trash with X-Antibody underneath this guy. Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon as well. And this is like the perfect combo to help you set up, you know, to get into your Ouryuken. And yeah, this one is always, you know, the consistent one for sure, 100%, which I always like. And of course, we mentioned Oreomon. We still play the 3 copies of the Oreomon right here. Really good generic level 6 that we have, but mainly we always want to be sliding it underneath Alphamon to do the Ouryuken combos anyways. But itself does have when digivolving effect, where you get to place 1 card with X-Antibody as traits underneath it to delete one of your opponent's Digimon that has 7 play costs or less. And its second effect is that your turn, once per turn, when one of your effects place any Digivolution cards under this Digimon. Now keep in mind, it doesn't say this Digimon anymore. It can be any Digimon because there is an errata to this card, basically where anything that goes underneath anything at any given point, you gain that extra 2000 DP and the effect protection as well until the end of your opponent's next turn. I'll leave a link in the description box down below to the errata so you guys can read and understand what I'm trying to say about here. But Oreomon, really mainly with its inheritable, is that we can use its end of attack once per turn. If this Digimon has Alphamon in its name, we get to unsuspend it to make multiple attacks, multiple checks, and that's really what he is there for this deck. That's it for level 6s, and of course, like we said, this is the level 7. 3 copies of Ouryuken. Nothing has changed. Ouryuken is just super good. Digivolving for 3 on top of a Alphamon that has Oreomon in its sources. That's what we always want to be doing. Best value there. Otherwise, we have to digivolve for 7 on top of a level 6. Really powerful card because when digivolving, you delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. And mainly, it has its end of turn. Once per turn, you may return up to 7 non-Digi egg cards with X-Antibody in their traits from this Digimon sources to the bottom of your deck. And then you get to gain 1 memory for each. So then you can retain your turn, add more plays, give yourself a bit more memory, and extend your turn even further to do even crazier combos. And that's really what Ouryuken is all about. 16,000 DP, one of the strongest and one of the highest DP Digimon by base. Makes this card insanely incredibly powerful so that when you're swinging into security, very unlikely you'll ever be deleted in security battle unless you're facing like a mirror match, which has that higher risk anyways. But yeah, 3 copies of Ouryuken is super good. That's it for all of the Digimon. Let's talk about Tamers. Starting off the best one, Cool Boy is still really good. Effectively for 2 memory on play, you get to search the top 3 cards of your deck, adding yourself an X-Antibody, but also your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into the same level with X-Antibody, suspend him, gain a memory, and draw 1 card. You want to see multiples of this guy right here because it's just incredibly good. Our combo still mostly focuses on DoruGreymon into Dex DoruGreymon anyways. That's really the prior combo, and which is why even with the loss of DoruGreymon and Dex DoruGreymon in this deck, Cool Boy still works perfectly fine to give you so much long-term value in the late game when you're ready to pop off. Now, we got 3 UGs. UGs is also really great because it lets you do more combo plays, gives you more memory, gives you more cards as well. Very, very great for setting up in the early stages of the game, because your turn, when one of your Digimon with X Antibody has traits moves from the breeding area into the battle area, you get to gain 1 memory and draw 1 card. And when you do attack with a black Digimon that has X Antibody, you can suspend this guy to place something from your hand that has X Antibody underneath it as sources to, bridge even further combos. You can even stack multiple Oreomons one at a time to make it more unsuspending, more attacks. And that's why Yuji is just really good, because once again, very similar to Cool Boy, once you see your full combo line, you're ready to go, you push it out, you gain so much value off of it. Then, of course, we have to have the 2 Codas. Coda's just great for searching, but also your memory tamer, essentially very crucial to the deck. On play, revealing the top 4 cards of your deck, adding 1 card with X Antibody in its traits to your hand, and then placing the rest at the bottom. But yeah, Coda is, really, really crucial too, because it is your memory tamer. That's it for all the tamers. Talk about options, more about searching, more about memory. Black memory boost, really, really great. Just a very good generic staple for the deck for sure. And then we have 1 X Antibody option. I really like this card. You can sneak in a lot of cheeky plays, do a lot of pretty cheeky combos when you don't even have all the enough memory to do it, because you can actually even slide this underneath a Grademon. Grademon would then attack, digivolve into an Alphamon, and I'll show you more combos later on, which is really, really cool. But yeah, security, gain 1 memory, really good for defensive, which is very, very nice. And then by placing something underneath, you can actually proc and activate all your other effects that have a condition with the inheritables of when you place something underneath, such as the DoruGreymon egg, you get to draw a card, Dorumon gaining a memory, and do all those kind of really cool stuff here too. Then, more for the tech options, we have Breath of the Gods and Congo, one of each, just juggling between. This is really just comes down to personal preference. These are sort of the flex spots, and they're just really there as sort of tech cards to sort of combat against different matchups. Breath of the Gods is just really good for reboot, and you can actually combat against decks like Melga and stuff like that to prevent your guys from being bounced or return to the bottom of the deck, which is nice. Congo, on the other hand, great for against being yellow decks or Massamon decks that basically recover a lot, and you can stop recovery with Congo, or even potentially as a defensive card, both these guys with this security. It stops your opponents from attacking you with Breath of the Gods, and then for Congo, it stops anything that has play cost 7 or less from attacking you as well in general, which is, really, really good defensive key cards for the deck for sure. Okay, so that's the 50 card main deck. Now let's talk about some other tech choices or other cards that you can actually include as optionals and sort of juggle around with the ratios when you come to build your deck. Of course, we have the black sort of floodgates right here, Chumon and Chikurimon, just really, really good sort of meta calls, Chumon to stop memory gain, Chikurimon just to stop any reducing play costs for all turns for both players. And Chikurimon doesn't hurt you too much because you don't really reduce hard play costs anyways, or play costs in general in your deck. So yeah. Then we have Grumble Man. I'm still trying to find a spot to sort of fit this guy in, because I do actually miss having the hybrid for game, which is very nice. You get to sneak in an extra attack sometimes, and that's all you need to finish the game. So Grumble Man is actually really nice, but currently the build works out for me without it, but I have been considering adding this. So this is one of my top considerations for sure when you're building it as well. And then for another level 5 sort of option that we've all probably considered for the Alphamon and X Antibody archetype is Hisaroman. Hisaroman is really interesting because it can let you sort of digivolve and reduce your digivolve cost, and it's kind of pretty neat utility tool. It also gives your Digimon inheritable or your top end reboot, as long as it has X Antibody and its traits, which is really, really good. However, I think Hisaroman wasn't as consistent as I was hoping for it to be. I didn't really feel like I need more level 5s. I do have very little level 5s in this deck in general, but it has worked out greatly anyways, because I want to be consistent with the overall combo I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to replicate a little bit more like the OTK, the massive destruction and the massive pressure that Alphamon used to provide. So that's really what I'm just going for. But yeah, Saruman is a good consideration, but I wouldn't play it in my deck, in my version anyways. And then for options, more tech options, if you want to go even more aggressive rather than defensive, Final Zubicon Punch is actually a really neat, cool card to actually include other than playing Congo or Breath of the Gods instead. This gives you even more power and even more pressure. Extra 3000 DP on your Ouryuken is really strong. It's already 16,000 DP, so it will meet the threshold requirement for it to gain blocker, reboot, and security +1 until the end of your opponent's next turn. This is actually a really good supplementary card to, push it even further to really replicate the OTK style if you really want to go for it. And yeah, this card works really nice, and definitely highly recommend you guys try it out for sure too. Otherwise, if you want to be more defensive, more again, Ultimate Flare being one of the best removal cards for black, is also just really, really good to include in the deck for sure as well. Alright, now with the deck profile and all the cards showcased, guys, let's talk about the combos. Honestly, the combo hasn't really changed much since BT9. The concept is still very similar, but with the new addition of Grademon and other stuff like that, let's show you guys how differently it can be. But first stages, early stages of the game, what you really want to be doing is obviously searching. Searching is always your top-notch priority. So you'd be wanting playing your Black Memory Boost, your options, your Tamers, Cool Boy always being the best, Coda for searching. UG doesn't really give you as much early game value because you don't really get to search as much, but if you do have it come up from security, from being chipped, very good value when you can play as well, because later when you're ready to push out, lots of value there. Otherwise you want to play DoruGreymon, retunr, find your pieces and gather as much as you can. So now moving into your building stack stage, this is why it's very nice to have Sunorisamon and DoruGreymon as your rookie choices now. Ideally, you always want to be digivolving your Sunorisamon. There's no point hard playing this card because you want its inheritable. you're going to get into Alphamon, you're going to get into Ouryuken. That's what it is there mainly for. If you don't see it, then sometimes digivolving it into DoruGreymon would be nice as well, because that would be your second most go-to. Otherwise, if you have no other choice, retunr will have to be digivolved on top of there. You got to make those decisions. You have to build your stack soon, so that's really what this deck is all about. Unfortunate side of things is that Sunorisamon is not archetype based, it's not an X antibody, so it doesn't really mesh too well with all the searching. Otherwise, it'll be insanely good. But otherwise, if you see it, go for it. And then afterwards, you just want to be digivolving into your DoruGreymon right here, and then you just want to sit there and raising, and then just continue to play these cards that we showcase here to continue finding your pieces into your deck's DoruGreymon, your level 5, your level 6s, and your level 7s, and continue to set up from there. Okay, so other early stages part of the game, because the OTK power is not as strong as before, chipping your opponent's security becomes really important in the early stages of the game now. So if you can, chip with your retunr, chip with your DoruGreymon, they don't really necessarily need to stay on the board. They don't provide much value afterwards being on play anyways. So having them in your trash can actually even help you out for later combos too anyways. So chipping your opponent's security is really good to set up, so then you can go in for the bigger Alphamon Ouryuken play later on. Now, once you found all your pieces and you're ready to go, ideally having 3 memory is always the best case scenario, because that guarantees your combos to go through very fluid and nicely. But otherwise, there's somehow is that if you can get to 2 memory, it works out greatly, and you can jump from all the way from DoruGreymon all the way to your Ouryuken in one single turn, which is absolutely insane. And you just want to find different ways to gain memory for you. So it really depends on what Tamers you have set up. If you have multiple Cool Boys, that's totally fine. If you have multiple UGs, that's really great too. If you have Coda, that's fantastic. And if you have Black Memory Boost. So the key situation is really calculating the memory that you have and making sure that you can actually pull off the combo with the memory you have. So in this particular ideal optimal setup right here, let's just say we push this DoruGreymon right here, we'll gain a memory with UG and we get to draw a card. I'm going to take away Coda for here, for example, because it's not as likely, because these 2 Tamers, we have higher counts and higher ratios, so it's more likely to have. And then we could just say we can have a Black Memory Boost here sitting there just in case we want to go into it. Now, digivolve into Deck's DoruGreymon for free, because you're digivolving on top of DoruGreymon right here. And then first and foremost, suspend Cool Boy to gain another memory and draw 1 card. Now you want to be trashing a card from your hand. Ideally, you're going to be wanting to trash your Oreomon in most cases if it hasn't been set up in your trash just yet. Otherwise, using it with UG can work very nicely as well, but I generally like to put it in trash because Alphamon's going to bring it back later on. Now by doing so, by trashing 1 card from your hand, Deck's DoruGreymon gains you another memory back right here. Really good. And then obviously, since Grademon is sort of the newer combo guy, we're going to see Grademon more than anything else. We're going to digivolve into Grademon right here by paying the 3 memory cost. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cycle through the top 3 cards of your deck. Now keep in mind, the really cool thing is that it can find Alphamon in its name, meaning you can search for Alphamon or Alphamon Ouryuken with Grademon, which is very good. And then afterwards, depending on what you reviewed, you want to put something underneath it to, extend it even further. Now, the very nice thing is if you can review something like another DoruGreymon right here, or a Oreomon or whatnot, these are really good options, because DoruGreymon would be more ideal. Somehow during the process of the combo, there's different ways for you to put DoruGreymon underneath. But now if you do put DoruGreymon underneath, you get to gain a memory right here and draw a card with DoruGreymon as well. Now that's really fantastic because that sets you up for 3 memory to go into Alphamon. If you don't have DoruGreymon, this is when you want to have Black Memory Boost. If you don't have Black Memory Boost, this is the situation when you want to have Coda. If not, in some certain situations, if you have double Cool Boy or double UG, that compensates for you to get into this combo. So that's really one of the key things that you want to identify and make sure you can get into. So somehow you want to be at 3 memory after Grademon. By paying the 3 memory, now you Digivolve into Alphamon. Alphamon will then draw a card for Digivolving. From the trash, you're going to place Oreomon underneath. Now you're basically set up right here. Essentially, you got the Oreomon and Alphamon. Of course, then you're going to be wanting your Ouryuken. So then you can pay the 3 memory to Digivolve it into Ouryuken. Now, because you pass the turn to your opponent at 3, you're going to use your end of turn procedure first with Ouryuken so that you can retain your turn now right here. So you definitely want to place under something like Alphamon, doesn't provide any hurtable. Get decks DoruGreymon. Most cases I'll even take away like DoruGreymon right here if I'm not trying to swing over something big. I don't really need the extra 1000 DP. Ouryuken 16 already, really strong. Grademon, very debatable. If there's something that you want to delete on your opponent's side of the board that has 5 play costs or less, like a rookie or a blocker or anything like that, you might want to keep Grademon there. You can't get Sunarisamon because it's not an X antibody. It doesn't work with the archetype. You can't do DoruGreymon, but now you can do DoruGreymon. And because it gave you that memory already, and this is sort of how you want to stack. And then let's just say there's nothing to pop on your opponent's side of the board. Let's just put the Grademon back to here. So we have this sort of ideal stack, so we can gain a lot of memory. So we can gain 5 back. Right here, put them to the bottom of your deck in any order you like. So now you're back at 2. Now, you can swing with Ouryuken. Now that's basically 2 checks with 16. At the end of attack, you can unsuspend with Oreomon. Now, if you have been chipping at the early stages of the game with your opponent's security, 1 or 2 security, they should be down to 1 or 2 security left at this moment. And then now this is where it gets even better. If you have more Oreomons in your hand, you can utilize UG to make even more attacks, which is going to be really good. So you swing in once more with Ouryuken. Now you can actually suspend the UG right here, suspending the UG so that you can place another Oreomon right here, one at a time. Keep in mind with the rules, you can't have multiple Oreomons at the same time to unsuspend at the same time like that and then resolve one another. What I mean is that make sure that you put the Oreomons underneath one at a time after another, so then you can actually do the multiple unsuspension. So now that you swing for the rest of security, you unsuspend once again, and then you swing in to finish your opponents off. So necessarily, you don't have to actually do that. If otherwise, you can just play more pressure on your opponent's side of the board. Afterwards, let's just say you don't swing in the second time. And then keep in mind the Alphamon Ouryuken still has the blocker retaliation. So what you can actually even do is if you see that you establish a strong board presence and you don't see your opponent having a huge threat on you the next turn, you can even just easily just slam down a DoruGreymon and then just choke them at 1 memory, search for more stuff, and then wait until next turn and then come back again and then just finish them off there instead. Showing you guys these combos, I'm not going to deny the fact that the Alphamon Ouryuken OTK combo has severely weakened over time because of the limitation of DoruGreymon, but you can still establish really strong board presence, wipe out your opponent's board, clear their boards, and make a very strong turn so that you can still do a follow-up and finish your opponents off afterwards right there. So this is basically how the combo looks like right now.
That'll wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. I'm super ready and super excited for BT11. If you guys want to see more content when a new set drops, then be sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. This is Avault, signing out.